Ever heard of McCarthyism or the Red Scare? These are terms coined by leftists and communists to try to denigrate heroic anti-communist Senator Joe McCarthy. His quest to rid the United States of communists has been derided as a witch hunt that targeted innocent people. Were his supposed victims really innocent? Is everything we've been taught fake? Watch my video and find out.
One communist on the faculty of one university is one communist too many. One communist among the American advisors at Yalta was one communist too many. Even if there are only one communist in the State Department, that would still be one communist too many.
The Bolshevik Revolution happened in Russia. This created a massive backlash against these leftist movements. It combined with strong anti-immigrant and anti-Semitic sentiments at the time, which saw these movements as foreign intervention by immigrants, but especially Jews. The xenophobia led to the Palmer raids, which deported many of the left-wing immigrants. So that was the first Red Scare and established the challenging environment many left-wing people in America had to endure. In the wake of the Second World War, President Truman feared communist influence from the USSR. In response, Truman signed Executive Order 9835, which goes by the other name of the Loyalty Order. It gave the FBI orders to hunt down secret communists in the public service. It resulted in about 3 million investigations, 300 firings, and an infamous list created by the Attorney General of subversive organizations, which would become the fuel for McCarthy's Red Scare. In 1949, the Cold War took a step into high gear. That year, despite the best attempts by the United States, the Communist Party of China, with its leader Mao Zedong, became the de facto leader of all mainland China. In addition, 1949 saw the Soviet Union successfully test its first nuclear weapon. They suspected Soviet spies were in their midst giving secrets of the bomb to them. This, of course, was later confirmed in 1950 with the arrest of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The two were then executed in 1953 for the crime. In February of 1950, McCarthy, at a meeting of the Republican Women's Club, brandished a piece of paper and claimed he had in his hands the list of 205 people who worked in the State Department who were known to be members of the Communist Party. Coverage of it turned him into an overnight celebrity, and this is what earned the second Red Scare the nickname McCarthyism. Now, remember when I mentioned the American labor movement and the first Red Scare? Well, it's important now, because before those crackdowns, being a socialist or an anarchist or a communist was not that big a deal. Many left-leaning young activists got involved with these unions and groups, many of whom were scared off or left those groups after the first Red Scare. Well, now a bunch of those people had grown older and had jobs in the US government. And according to firebrands like McCarthy, even former members were suspicious. Most infamous of these being the House Un-American Activities Committee, or HUAC. Their most publicized investigation was not focused on government employees, but into Hollywood. They brought many famous film executives, actors, and directors to find out who had secret communist sympathies. In the end, many people too left of center wound up being blacklisted, preventing them from making or performing in movies for years, or often ever again.
Joe McCarthy has been universally panned as a witch hunter, as a man who persecuted poor, innocent people. We've been taught this from our elementary days. As you can see by these titles, this has been cemented in our textbooks. Millions of American school children have learned about the evils of McCarthyism. We've always been told that McCarthy was wrong. But was he? Let's take a look at some of McCarthy's supposed victims. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're not going to find victims, that we're going to actually find communists. We're going to do a little bit of research into these first 12 people named in Wikipedia's list of McCarthy's quote-unquote victims. And we're going to see how many of these people are actually communists. Larry Adler. It seems like Larry Adler was an innocent man. I cannot find any definitive connections to communism in my initial research. Nelson Algren had connections to communism, particularly in the 1930s and 40s. He was involved with the Chicago John Reed Club, a communist-affiliated group for writers and artists, and contributed to the New Masses, a magazine tied to the Communist Party. His early works, like Somebody in Boots and Never Come Along, echoed communist critiques of capitalism by focusing on the plight of the working class and marginalized. Lucille Ball registered as a Communist Party voter in California in 1936, along with her mother, Dee Dee Ball, and grandfather, Fred Hunt. Signed a petition in 1937 supporting a Communist Party candidate for local office, associated with the Committee for the First Amendment in the 1940s, a Hollywood group opposing the HUAC that included some communist sympathizers. Robert Bella. Bella was a member of the Communist Party from 1947 to 1949 while an undergraduate at Harvard University. He served as chairman of the John Reed Club, a student organization at Harvard focused on studying Marxism. Walter Bernstein. Bernstein was a member of the Communist Party USA, joining in the late 30s while studying at the University of Grenoble in France, where he was exposed to communist ideas through a French family acquainted with his father. Alva Bessie. Bessie joined the Communist Party in 1936, drawn to its stance against fascism during the Great Depression and the rise of Nazism. He fought in the Spanish Civil War as a volunteer in the Abraham Lincoln Brigade, a communist organized unit supporting the Spanish Republic against Franco's fascist forces. After returning to the U.S., Bessie worked as a journalist and wrote for leftist publications, including the New Masses, a magazine closely aligned with the Communist Party. Elmer Bernstein. During the McCarthy era, Bernstein was graylisted, a less severe form of blacklisting, after it was discovered that he'd written... Elmer Bernstein. During the McCarthy era, Bernstein was graylisted, a less severe form of blacklisting, after it was discovered that he had written music reviews for a communist-affiliated newspaper. Leonard Bernstein. He signed petitions and attended events sponsored by leftist groups, some of which later identified as Communist Party fronts by the House Un-American Activities Committee. David Baum. He joined the Communist Party in 1942 while a graduate student at the University of California, Berkeley, where he was part of the radiation laboratory working on the Manhattan Project. His involvement with the Communist Party included participation in study groups and discussions with other leftist scientists and intellectuals. Bertolt Brecht had significant connections to communism. He was a committed Marxist, and his political beliefs deeply influenced his work as a playwright, poet, and theater director. Brecht developed an interest in Marxist ideology in the 1920s, particularly after studying Karl Marx's writings, which shaped his critique of capitalism and social inequality. His plays, such as Threepenny Opera and Mother Courage and Her Children, often reflect Marxist themes, exposing class struggles, exploitation. Louis Brunel, the Spanish filmmaker, also had notable connections to communism. Brunel was deeply influenced by Marxist and leftist ideas, particularly during the 1920s and 30s, when he was active in the Surrealist movement, which aligned with revolutionary politics. In the late 20s, Brunel joined the Surrealist group in Paris, led by André Breton, which had strong ties to communism. Many Surrealists, including Brunel, were drawn to Communist Party's anti-capitalist and anti-bourgeoisie stance. Brunel formally joined the French Communist Party in 1931. During the Spanish Civil War, Brunel supported the Republican side, which included communist and socialist factions fighting against Franco's fascist forces. He worked on propaganda films for the Republic and served as a cultural attaché in Paris. Among the first 12 individuals listed as McCarthy's supposed victims, who according to leftist mythology were victims of a witch hunt, only 3 turned out to not be outright Communist Party members, and even these 3 had many ties to leftist causes and organizations. That's almost an accuracy rate of 80%. Senator Joe McCarthy has been denigrated by the left, who despises him for his vital work exposing communist infiltration into our government in Hollywood during the late 40s and early 50s. McCarthyism has become synonymous with witch hunting, inferring he was searching out non-existent threats. Well, events today tell us a different story, as Marxists have infiltrated all our major institutions. I've shown that quote-unquote innocent victims he accused were almost to a man or woman actual Communist Party members. I hope this goes to destroy some more of the faith you formerly held in our education system. Have a great day.